All right, I see the gameplay. It looks like we are good to go here. Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to yet another enthralling episode of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. With this being show number 264, a show focused more on the Xbox side of things when it comes to gaming, but hey, we also touch on many other things throughout the game industry. Of course, I'm Invader, your host for tonight, and it is great to see you all here. As more people start falling in, I see a few people here already. On the docket tonight, we've got many exciting things to talk about, including Starfield news. Yes, we got some. We've got a release date for it, plus some other details. As well, both Paradox Interactive and Capcom have had their respective shows and spotlights. We will touch on some game announcements, and hey, maybe some other stuff intertwined there with Xbox. But first, I have to introduce the stellar crew tonight. Let's see, we got everybody here. I am super stoked. General MLD, buddy, I'll start with you. How you been?
Hey, it's been a pretty good week for Xbox. Also, finally for myself, finally beat Atomic Heart. Fantastic game. I recommend you try it on Game Pass. And to anyone listening. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into it pretty soon. But things are starting to heat up. It's going to be a great year, and very excited to have this conversation.
No doubt, my friend, no doubt. I see the energy in you. Next up, we got Mr. Xbox Lizard himself, Tim Dog. Tim, buddy, how you been?
Good, good. Happy to be here. Um, I earlier in the week, I came to the conclusion. I just wanted to just preface this that I'm not going to be doing full time podcasting, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to go completely away. I'm just going to show up here and there, especially when there's big news dropped. Just been doing this for 10 years, and it's been especially trying the last year with a lot of the ABK stuff, same stuff over and over. But basically just going to take a little bit of a rest, a recharge, and I'm not going completely away. But I just want to let you guys know that. So moving forward, you might not see me, but I'm always here. Probably be in the chat, or sometimes we'll be on the show. Same goes for RDX. But just wanted to just get that out there. But other than that, well, we got a lot to talk about today. I got my time's a little limited, so I'm probably gonna be an hour. But I'm gonna give you my thoughts, and love to hear the rest of the panels as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Timmy, we
Double the
understand.
Xbox Lizard.
Don't waste time on it. We'll do it another show.
We'll talk about it. Don't worry afterwards. But yeah, Timmy, everybody understands. No worries. But of course, you're always a part of the show, and you will be on sometime. So it's not like you're gonna be gone or anything like that. Just you gotta take some time, all right, away.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's how it is. That's life, and I totally understand that. Moving on next, we have Eric Shockley, Mr. Shock. How you been?
Pretty good. Just been finally getting my I didn't think I'd beat that boss in Wolong, that first one. It was because early on it was just like, man, I'm not blocking shit. But luckily I was that pairing timing started to click, and it was a wrap for him, so I finally got past that boss. So I've just been enjoying that, and getting into that Resident Evil demo. Might get to later. But yeah, definitely I was surprised how deep the like, not deep, but like the pairing system in that. I didn't know the combat was going to be, because from both the original, it was kind of like still kind of tanky, somewhat, not so much like the RE6 where it was like all out like combat, which this is kind of more like that John Wick. You can pretty much do anything, parry like pitchforks, parry unarmed people, where you end up actually paring their arm off. But yeah, that one's been pretty sick so far. As far as the comparison, I did compare it, and it was a little bit softer on the PS5 one, but apparently that one might be at a lower resolution, which might be why at least that one video that went around with the frames being a little bit lower on the Series X. That's something like I think From Software did with Sekiro last year or last gen, where it was like, hey, we pushed the resolution, but your performance is lower on the One X versus the PS4 Pro, which doesn't make any sense. But hopefully they start kind of balancing that out, and just consoles need to bring down the resolution, just make it parity across. They're so close anyway. Just make them the same. Don't do this like more resolution here, less performance here nonsense. But otherwise, that demo's been a blast. So definitely hyped for that game dropping here in a couple weeks.
All right. Yeah, no, I've been seeing some interesting footage and pics being shared, and we will touch on more Capcom stuff later. So I definitely want you to bring up all the Resident Evil stuff and more later on. But hey, good to know. Good to know, Eric. Moving on, Crusader, buddy, pal, how you been?
I'm good. I have been playing a lot of Destiny 2 Lightfall, which is kind of a really weird mixed bag, because, like, compared to Witch Queen, it's just not. The story was just not very good, but, like, the gameplay changes are all really good. So, like, it's a real mixed bag of, like, how the game is. Other than that, I've been playing a bunch of, like, older games. I played both the first and second Darkness game recently.
Mm-hmm.
I loved both of them, and I started, what's that game? Rise Son of Rome today, which I've never played.
No, you haven't played Rise?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I have not.
It's a nice treat. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I'm liking it, except for like it's more historically inaccurate than fucking whatchamacallit was. What's that movie? Braveheart.
Well, I don't know if I would say that, especially with how Nero is, but I understand.
No, I'm saying it's more historically inaccurate.
Yes.
Inaccurate.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay, I didn't catch it.
Like Boudica, like just like the whole structure of it is strange. But I really like the game itself. It's been fun so far.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And hey, the Gladiator mode isn't half bad. I'll be honest with you. So might want to check that out after.
PvP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth spending some time on. That's my opinion, anyways. Let's see. Moving on down here, we got the Desert Coyote himself, Centurion buddy. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. It's been a good week. Just getting some gaming in. Finally, I'm on chapter 12 of Dead Space, and I'm at the home stretch of beating that game. Obviously keeping up with ESO, just trying to tackle another game in my backlog, whichever one it's going to be before next month, where we have Jedi Fallen Survivor, and then we also have Dead Island 2. So just trying to keep up with all the games that are dropping.
Agreed, good sir. I mean, I'm gonna try and be a good boy after I'm all done with Atomic Heart. I am gonna try and focus on the backlog. I know I say that a lot, but I got too much on the backlog. Actually, wait, you know what? Scratch that. I may have to reiterate that I think I have Metroid, the Metroid remaster coming in soon. So I don't know, man. The backlog never ends. But yeah, no, that's how it goes here in gaming. But before we get into all the delightful topics, a reminder to everybody here to check out the channel on a wide range of platforms. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and plenty of other audio platforms. As well, we're on Rumble, BitChute, and other video platforms as well. So check us out there. We are everywhere, so make sure to sub. Hey, man. Again, we're on everything, and we understand that not all of our viewers, can do video all the time, but it's nice to have some options, right? It's nice to, not everybody can be here live, so we provide some options for you. Okay, well, fellas, I think we will move right on into our first topic tonight, and I'm sure you know what that means. It's Starfield, lots of Starfield. Bethesda came out of nowhere with a new trailer, along with a brand spanking new release date of September 6th, 2023, so later this year. As well, a very early announcement of a Starfield Direct right after a Xbox game showcase on Sunday, June 11th. So, a few months away, not too far, which is very, very interesting. I gotta say, I'm curious on the panel's thoughts on this, since we've been patiently waiting on this information. Tim Bud, please take things away first. Obviously, we've been waiting for something, and now we got it, right?
Tim, if you're there, you're muted.
Timmy.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So basically, what I think is going on right now with them is they're really being smart about it. Like they're being super cautious, and I know that pisses fans off because they made the 12-month pledge, but that was stupid to begin
My
with.
card declined.
You know so when that happened, I think that kind of
Yes.
stunk, and that definitely it affected it. But I think that moving forward, it's going to be good. I'm hearing really good things. I like how they're doing it right after the Xbox showcase. They'll probably show a really good chunk of it. Um, what I saw when Todd was talking, I was kind of focused on the back. I'm sure everyone was the back
Other issues.
people playing it. I think somebody's on coming through on mute. I don't know if it's
Yeah, it's sent.
okay. But whatever. So basically, I'm excited, and I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to play, and I think it's better placed here because I think for Game of the Year, it'll be much fresher in the minds. Whereas if they try to push it through in on June or April, so I'm kind of okay with the whole situation, but I do get the upsetness, the fans being upset with the pledge of 12 months. Moving forward, Xbox can't do that stuff. Too much pressure on the developers, and obviously you can't really speak for them that way. And I think that they did on their behalf, and it didn't go well.
Well,
You have
they
two
didn't
games that-
because originally when it was delayed the first time, 2 months before the
Yeah,
June
you're right.
showcase, they had said quarters 1 and 2 as well.
You're
Like
right, you're right.
what the 12-month pledge for like Starfield release was actually just straight from the words of Bethesda
Mm.
themselves first. Right.
Mhm.
Well, so they did. Yeah, they didn't hit it, but like, do we really? I mean, we can complain, but I just don't know how much of a big deal. Especially, it's a Bethesda game. You want it to be the best it can be. Being as much as they've had the time that they've had with the game, kind of like makes me even more intrigued because that they like Todd said, they poured their soul into this game, and I honestly feel like it's going to reflect that. But even more so because they've had much more time, and they've also and this pisses people off a lot. I get it, because it's going to be a great game, and you can't deny this game. But like, they didn't have to develop for the PlayStation 5, so that gave them even more time. And it looks like they've been pretty much in development for what, since 2017. This has been announced, so you're talking about a good 6-7 years.
It's actually
you know,
longer. They started
longer.
development right after Fallout 4 was finished.
Wow. So
Mhm.
you're talking a long
Now,
time. So I'm
That's
excited.
like pre-prod was
Right,
started then. Like
pre-production.
yeah.
Now, if I'm to interject, guys, like, I mean, I do understand people being like, oh, another delay. I get it, right? Delays suck in general. That being said, I mean, don't we want just a good game overall? I mean, granted, they had already had a date in stone. They sounded confident. But, I'm kind of with Tim here, like, maybe, they just want to be patient and, like, be cautious with this game because, I mean, it's the next big game from Bethesda. It's their next big game, obviously. They want it to be a blockbuster. And they got to tread very carefully, too, because there's been these big open world games that have, well, at launch, they've been kind of disappointments and wrecks, and, the media eats them up. I mean, you look at, for example, Cyberpunk, right? Cyberpunk was a...
Mass Effect.
Yeah, that one.
Andromeda.
Yeah, or look at, even to a lesser extent, the latest Saints Row, buggy
Yeah.
like anything. Like, there's been so... Anthem and so on. So yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of pressure on these studios to perform, especially BioWare, CD Projekt Red, and I don't want a crap game. There's been a lot of money poured into this game. Hell of a lot of marketing is gonna go into this. Microsoft is gonna pimp this out like, like again, it's gonna be their next big title. And I err on the side of caution. I don't mind them honestly doing this. We already got an updated games lineup already, going into at least May. So I was kind of wondering where Starfield was going to fit in there personally. Now we know it's getting bumped. I mean, my question is, where does Forza fits in now? But I mean, I would probably err on the side of, hey, that could get bumped to maybe October or something. You never know. But I'm curious, what everybody here thinks. Let's see. MLD Pal, I mean, what do you think about the new release date?
Okay, well, overall, I think I'm in the side where I think it's pretty good overall, long term, especially because I mean, a lot of people can hold Xbox accountable because they made a blanket promise last year at E3 that all games will be released in the next 12 months. But ultimately, though, games like Starfield, it's just too big. It's too big of a flagship title this year to be constrained to this kind of like arbitrary deadline. If it needs a few more months, then I'd say take it, because people like to joke around Bethesda this and that, but I feel like the game's always shined through in the end and made it very, very tolerable. But Fallout 76, that's what made it a little more serious, and it actually genuinely hurt Bethesda's reputation. So they can't have another Fallout 76. This game needs all the polish it can possibly get. And overall, I'm excited for that. The footage that we saw in the new trailer, it looked so much more smooth. The animations look great. Like, I am so excited to just lose myself in this game. In a few months, that's all it's going to take. And years from now, we're not going to remember all the delays. We're going to remember how great this game was at launch. Like, because again, like to name other examples, no one really cares or remembers that God of War or Horizon Forbidden West or Gran Turismo 7 were delayed from 2021.
100%.
Yeah, people remember those games being great when they did end up launching. So gamers have short memories. Like, once a game comes out and it's fantastic, that's all that matters. And I'm looking forward to that. Now, other good news is that it's not going to conflict with their proper showcase. So we're going to get, think about this, guys, a full hour and a half of other games being talked about. And then you have, half an hour, 40 minutes just for Starfield. That's insane. It is going to be so good to be an Xbox gamer around that time. Like that 1-2 punch showcase, there's going to be so much hype around that. And that's when the marketing cycle will really kick into gear. If they're smart, they're going to do a big marketing blitz. They're going to do a console bundle, a controller, custom controller, all that kind of stuff. This is going to be our Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This is going to be our God of War Ragnarok for the year. This is Xbox's time, because the sheer scope, the ambition on this game. You guys said it before. This game was in development since Fallout 4 finished. Yeah. This is like the passion project that Bethesda has ever made. This is their project, and we are gonna be like, Xbox ecosystem members are gonna benefit immensely from this. So the hype's already building. Like, this is the year, but I get it. Xbox delays things. You gotta see it to believe it. So, but hey, June is around the corner. A lot of things will be happening between now and then. But I think I'm pretty confident they're gonna what they got to show us. It's gonna be great. And also, I think just from a more technical standpoint, it's good to space these things out. Like, compared to last year, we have a very, very spaced out first party lineup. I mean, we started this year with Age of Empires and Hi-Fi Rush and Amazing Shadow Drop. Fantastic. We're gonna get Ghostwire Tokyo end of the month, possibly early April. The Minecraft Legends also in April. Then we're gonna have Redfall in May. Forza somewhere in the summer, right? And then you got September for Starfield. And if we have something in the holidays, even better. That is a very, very well spaced out Xbox lineup. They're finally keeping their promise for a steady flow of content. So this way, everything's not just jammed up together in 1 or 2 months. Games like Redfall can actually breathe now. If Redfall's a hit, let it ride its success. Don't cut it off at the legs because Starfield has to come out at the end of June. This way, Redfall can breathe. It can stretch its legs. That's great. I look forward to taking that in. And if Starfield becomes all the better with that extra few months, because hey guys, again, the scale of this game, I imagine these guys are finding all these bugs and exploits on all these different planets. All these exploits people are trying to find. It's a pretty big game. I can imagine it takes a lot more time to squash it. And I imagine if Bethesda really tried, they can get all hands on deck, really crunch this game out. But ultimately, I don't think that's the best thing for the devs themselves. You don't want them to work like, what, 20 hours, you don't try to say like 70, 80 hours a week kind of thing to get this game out the door hot. You want them to work at a steady pace to really take their time. No, I mean, not take too long, but not rush the game, because of some arbitrary date that Xbox made. And for the record, I don't think Xbox is going to make that mistake again, just to make a blanket promise like that. I feel like they tried it once, didn't work out. Games like Starfield and Forza didn't make the cut. They won't do it again. But at least, yeah, I don't want to ramble too much. I think overall it's good for Xbox long term, and we're going to benefit immensely.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%, MLD. Let's see, Shock Buddy. I mean, I know you've been keeping an eye on this just like the rest of us. What's your thoughts on the new Starfield release date? Is this really a shock to everybody, or does this come in line with what you've been thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a shock. I mean, we saw Last of Us get pushed back. I think, what was it, Ghost of Tsushima? You saw all of their Sony's first party games, and those are talented studios that are well-oiled machines that are at the top of their game. So, like, delays are going to happen, especially when it's like close. And this is in that final stretch where they know, okay, we're going to need this extra. They know what's left to do, because at this point, they're probably just finishing up like polishing and some other bugs that they're having to work out, and maybe some like last minute things. So they feel more, and that's why they didn't give you a date to begin with. They just gave you like, hey, this is our showcase of like, hey, what we expect, a year out, what we expect to hit, as far as, all these games. That's what we're hearing from, Todd Howard, of like, hey, we can probably hit in the first half, but things change. So, but this is a little bit closer to when that release would be. So they know that, okay, we're not going to hit that June date. We're not going to, release this game in like 3 months. So hopefully they feel confident about this one and they stick to it. But I mean, that's the thing with gaming. It happens to Zelda all the time. Pretty much every release they delay to hell, usually to the next console. So I mean, and this is a game like everyone's pointed out, right after Fallout 4. That was, basically what, like eight years ago. So just think about that amount of time and the scope that they're talking about, and they've put in just, think about that dev time too, that they're, possibly gonna, somewhat don't believe them, because how big the scope they're talking about, kind of like that whole No Man's Sky thing. But I mean, it's gonna be, hopefully it's a epic game, and that's what they're definitely banking on. So if they need 3 more months, what's 3 more months? It's not that big of a difference. Sure, it would have been awesome if it was just like a little bit shorter, but it is what it is. And if I'm gonna give anybody time to polish, I'm gonna give, one of the best, whatever people want to say about Bethesda, like those games are all, other than like Fallout 4, all those previous games that were complete buggy messes, everybody says, were all 90 rated games. I think Skyrim, Fallout 3, I think even Oblivion. So I'm like, they hit their, whether or not there might be some bugs, which kind of comes with the territory when it's, such a wide open game where you can do so many different things. There's so many different quests. It's so full of deeper game. Yeah, it's not going to be as polished as like a linear game. So, but yeah, I don't think it's a problem. Like everybody's trying to lay it on as like a, Microsoft like mismanaging. I don't think that's one of these instances, but yeah, I mean, sorry, I was just getting back to that part. Sorry, but yeah, I don't think it's part of like the mismanaging. The thing about it is they don't have the kind of the what I was trying to think of the word, like, I don't know, just like a free ride where everybody else, like Nintendo, can delay Metroid Prime into infinity, Breath of the Wild. So they don't get that criticism because they are dropping games. So that is a valid criticism. Where last year they didn't drop anything. So at least if they delayed God of War, Horizon, Gran Turismo, they got pushed back a year, but they did drop Ratchet and Clank, and Returnal dropped. So they still had some high-rated games that dropped. Whereas Xbox did completely miss the boat all last year. And before that, we just had basically, for the most part, Forza and Halo. So I mean, that's their issue. I think going forward, especially after this year, if all these games hit like we intend, like you had a Hi-Fi Rush, you'll have Redfall. Hopefully that's a great hit. Awesome that they're doing crossplay across the board. So it's going to help definitely with that player base. Steam and Xbox, I think they're all supposed to be crossplay with that one. But then you're going to have Starfield and Forza and maybe some other games that we don't know that are going to hit. And so going forward, they'll have that consistency, hopefully, going from this point on. And then if they do have to delay a game in the future, it won't hopefully get as much like criticism like this one is kind of. Because at that point, they'll like, oh, well, they did release a banger year, in 2023. So, okay, they have to push, Hellblade, don't want to speak it into reality, but
Well,
Hellblade gets delayed, a month. Okay, who cares? Look what they released with some of these newer studios like Starfield, and that was an amazing game. They're giving them time, let them polish. We saw how great that game looked. At that point, then you will have some cachet of like, hey, okay, they are managing these newer studios the right way. We're kind of going away from like the old remnants of, because 343 and Halo Infinite started way, way, way back, before they even started acquiring studios. So, but we'll see. But yeah, they put themselves in this situation to get overly criticized because they don't have anything else. So, but that's the situation.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that there is an unbalanced view when it comes to Xbox games versus either Nintendo or PlayStation, because again, there's delays across the industry. You listed some. It's not fair. That being said, Xbox has had a pretty notable, I don't want to say dry period. They did release some things, obviously, but just not to the extent that we were expecting, and a lot of it was understandable, and with other publishers too. That being said, now we're gonna get, we're wondering where all these games that they announced, we're gonna get slotted in. You're talking about Hellblade, we're thinking about Avowed, Fable, and so on. I think with where Starfield is slotted in and the type of game that it is, I don't know, I think you're going to be seeing a bunch like, we were kind of expecting maybe Hellblade or even Avowed to be in, the later part of this year. I don't know. Maybe we'll see them get pushed to next year, right? They do have,
Avowed's definitely not hitting this year.
Yeah. I
Not
would
with
say.
Starfield.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because again, these are big games. These are big open world titles, and they're not going to have them compete anywhere near each other.
Yeah, I don't think Phil or anybody there is, or Todd or anybody is gives like two shits of what other game is releasing next to theirs, because it's a it's a Todd Howard Bethesda megaton RPG. Look what when they released Fallout 4, and we had Rise of Tomb Raider had all that publicity because Xbox bought it, and then it went up against Fallout 4 and that was Fallout 4, which was heavily criticized. It scored well, but even that lower tier 87 Metacritic didn't hit that 90 on that Fallout 4 that people heavily criticized. Still was bearing anything around it. So, and now you're gonna have this thing dropping on. Plus, it's dropping on Game Pass. So people were saying, "Oh, what if it goes up against Spider-Man?" I don't think there's that much of a crossover there. Like people that are gonna love, a lot of people casually gonna love because they love Spider-Man are gonna pick that up. But this is just dropping in everybody's Game Pass subscription day one. So low barrier of entry. Plus, it's a Bethesda new megaton, IP the size of, way bigger than Skyrim, but like
it's gonna be huge.
Just think
it's gonna be
like
huge.
what we played from them and this whole new thing that they're talking about, and the low barrier of entry because it's just dropping it. You can literally make an email account, pay $1, and start playing. But
yeah,
so I don't think they're worried at all. Everybody's gonna be they're gonna get all the clicks of people like even PlayStation gamers playing that over, say a Spider-Man initially to try it out to like clickbait something or find some, bug or some shit,
Yeah.
Hate plane. Pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you both said that well for sure.
People aren't going to be talking shit about Spider-Man. They're going to be talking shit about Starfield. So it's going to just be all over Twitter, good or bad. Kind of like with YouTube. If you're getting dislikes, likes, it's still good for you with the interaction, whether or not they're disliking or liking your video. So.
Yeah. No.
It's going to be definitely be the game that's most talked about over Spider-Man, I would say. Just because it's going to have that just that polarization between a game that got taken away. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they hit this date and it's the quality that we're expecting it to be. So.
All right. No, that's very cool. Yeah. No, I agree. And we'll see where Spider-Man gets slotted into, because a lot of people are wondering where, now that Starfield's got a date set in stone, hopefully this time, where that one's going to get slotted in. They definitely don't want to be near that. I'm expecting at least, to the very least, late October, November, something like that, but time will tell. They got some time with that. Crusader, but I know that you had chimed in a little bit earlier on the topic, but I there was some disappointment, right? Because they were being very mum about the release date, and people were expecting like a Starfield show like a lot sooner, and now it's just like, oh, we have to wait until June. But I mean, it's nice that they seem to have some kind of a plan again, right? I mean, I would rather be on the side of cautious personally, and I do think that they are doing the right thing in this case. But I mean, do you have any other thoughts?
So, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I kind of went ballistic about this. And I'd like to put this disclaimer here first, because a lot of people mix up what I say as being anti-delay. I'm very happy that, in particular, they are willing to delay just about anything as much as it needs. Okay? That's not my problem. My problem is Xbox's inability to set expectations for anything. And this falls on the back of, first this game was announced for a specific date in 2022. And Todd Howard once even said that it was written in pen, not pencil, in an interview with IGN. And then it got delayed in May of last year. And they delayed it specifically in the May delay to quarter. They said first half of 2023, so quarter 1 or 2. It's like, okay, whatever. Fine, you delayed it once. Then they reiterated that during the Xbox showcase, and they reiterated it again during the Gamescom showcase. and they reiterated it again this year on the official Starfield support page that it was in the first half, on January 2nd. And you fast forward to today, and it's been delayed. Now, that's one particular, right? But we look at that Xbox showcase, and Xbox, between that showcase and the Age of Empires showcase, promised 6 games for the first half of 2023. It was Starfield, Redfall, and Forza are the big 3 $70 AAAs. And then it was Aura History Untold, which we have not seen or heard from since. It was supposed to be out in the first half. We have Minecraft Legends, which is going to hit the first half, which is good. And I'm trying... Oh, and the 6th one was Age 2, which did hit the first half. So we have Starfield, Forza, and Aura, which probably aren't going to hit, which is half of Xbox's commitments from last year, just not hitting. And that's my overarching problem, is they make these big promises and they didn't keep them. And this isn't like the first time they've done that. And it's really, really frustrating. And I really hope they do not do in the next 12-month showcase literally ever again. Never again. I hope they just say coming soon, because that sets expectations better than now. Because right now, I literally don't know, with Todd Howard telling me that it's coming out in September, if it's actually going to come out in September, with the history of literally just this game. It almost means nothing to me that they've put a date on it, because of all of the stuff that they've done with it, including Todd Howard saying it was written in pen, not pencil. That was said in 2021 about the game for its 2022 release date. It's just frustrating. And even those 3 games being delayed in context isn't even that bad, because like we've said, Nintendo and PlayStation and every third party does stuff like this, right? Except that Xbox had a very disappointing 2022 and a very disappointing 2020. In fact, those years are basically mirrors of each other. They were dreadful. And even 2021 really wasn't that great. The second half of it was pretty good with Psychonauts, Forza, and Halo, but Halo was a mess, and it was a mess for a year until the end of last year. And it's just, in context, it's just frustrating. Because, like I said, at one point, it was kind of ridiculous, but Microsoft did commit 6 games for the first half of 2023, and people are like, you should never have expected that. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? That's what they marketed. That's what they told us. What do you mean I shouldn't have expected that? To think that that wasn't going to happen would be paramount of false advertising, if I was supposed to just not expect that to be the case. And I really hope they can get to a place where, Shock said it perfectly, that they're releasing stuff consistently enough that none of this matters. It's just so frustrating. And I'm perfectly fine waiting to play Starfield in particular, right? And if it had just been raw Bethesda outside of Xbox, in an imaginary world where Microsoft didn't buy Bethesda, I'd be perfectly it wouldn't hit me. But it's because in the context of Microsoft, and Microsoft's even in an even more unique position because they have Game Pass, and Microsoft needs to be more consistent than the other ones because of Game Pass, right? It's a subscription that they expect you to pay for monthly. They need to have stuff, and they've been doing a pretty good job of getting stuff into it this year, really good job with the first and third party. But hearing things like these delays, and then hearing that there was stuff committed for the first 6 months and then not getting it in the first 6 months is frustrating. Right? Now, they have been substituting other stuff in. And to think at one point internally there was actually 7 games planned for the first half of the year is just wild to think about, because that didn't include Hi-Fi Rush, which we did get this year. And so, it's just a really, really weird, what should I actually expect in terms of anything? Gene Park said it best that, there's a lot riding on Starfield coming out spotless, but also... And so, that's why it's getting delayed, and that's a good thing. But also, they have gotten themselves into a place where it's do we believe any kind of date range or anything that they give us? Because they just haven't been keeping to it at all. Eventually, I assume they have to get it right, but they just aren't right now, and that's frustrating. And so, the delay is good in the individual encapsulated. No context around it for Starfield. Very good that it was delayed. Very happy about that. Their marketing team needs to get their shit together and not overcommit to things that they're not going to be able to hit. because it's 2023 now. We are out of like the major impacts of COVID should be gone. If there's no like we're not in lockdowns anymore. People can go back to the office if they want to, or they can work from home if they're more efficient at home, like I myself am. But it's just frustrating, very frustrating. And I really hope that going into this showcase, they make smart commitments and they don't overcommit themselves this year. That is my ask for Xbox this year. Do not commit what you know you are going to do, that you are certain of, because last year we were all so happy when they had that showcase and it was like, oh my god, the first half of 2023 is going to be lit. What's the second half going to be? Well, now half of what was lit about the first half is gone, and it's now in the second half, which is fine. It's still going to be a great year. It's just frustrating. That's the end of my rant.
Well, if I could hop in, I've been sitting
Sure.
here. I actually wanted to go last. I wanted to hear everybody. So at least if I could throw my 2 cents in and try to. So COVID did happen and created a lot of problems, and some of those problems are still happening to this day. People want to argue with me on that. I will more than love to have them sit down with me, and I will show them the material shortages that I constantly deal with. The shipping industry is a complete shit show right now in the United States. And there's multiple reasons for that, but COVID created a lot of issues where a lot of people stepped out of the shipping industry and they didn't want to be involved anymore. And yeah, there's some big issues when it comes to getting stuff across the United States. Did Microsoft promise to release these games? In my opinion, no. Did people have higher expectations than they should have? Probably, because nothing in this world is guaranteed. I actually, hanging in my closet right now, that on the back of a shirt that I bought from a local business here, it straight up says on the back, "No one owes you shit." And that's pretty much the way I live my life, is nobody owes me anything, and I don't have these expectations that somebody is supposed to cater to me and my wants. I understand the idea of marketing, but if we want to throw the idea of false advertising, okay, well, let's start suing Microsoft right now. But while we're at it, let's also start suing PlayStation. I put it up on my Twitter account. Remember that whole thing? Ragnarok is coming 2021. That shit didn't get released until 2022. What about?
So you are misconstruing what I said. We're gonna go back a second, because I'm not gonna. I specifically said if Microsoft knew that they weren't gonna hit those dates and yet did it anyways.
See, that's where
that's what I said.
Okay, now that's a valid point.
That's what I said.
Does Microsoft know they were gonna hit those? I don't know.
Well, no, because some people like I love Fonzarelli, Jay Fonzarelli, but he was like, Microsoft probably always knew they weren't going to hit that date, and I always, like, from the day of the showcase, I knew it wasn't going to hit that date, and it's like, well, no, if they're saying at that time that it was going to hit then they did not, then they thought it was going to hit then at that time, like, and that's my whole thing, and like, if they straight up didn't, like some people are trying to allude to, which I don't think is true, but if that was true, then that would be false advertising. Right. If internally they knew it wasn't going to hit that date, but they said it was anyways.
Well, I think they didn't know.
I agree. I agree with that. But there's so many people who are like, you never should have expected it to come out this day. And I'm like, why? It's what they told us.
I think Todd just keeps going to Phil Spencer and is like, hey, listen, and I know it's the second time we gave you a firm date, but we need a little more time.
Yeah. I actually think it's the other way around. I think that Xbox wants it delayed and not Bethesda. Bethesda would have released this game a buggy mess if they'd been on their own. Guaranteed.
Right. And I wasn't trying to take what you were saying out of context. I'm going off of more of like what I see on social media, because social media, oh my God, every time I saw a YouTube video come out that like right off the rip, Starfield was delayed. Wow, we're going down that road. Okay. Talk about clickbait.
I mean, it
that-
was delayed.
That's the only thing. To me, a delay means that there was a set date gave for the game and they missed that day. I'm a fine print kind of guy, and the fine print of the advertisement that was shown said 12-month targeted window.
Well,
Targeted.
no, Bethesda themselves said first half
First
in
half,
their
right?
delay in May. Like, we don't have to go to the, like, everyone goes to the Xbox showcase for, like, the commitment. The commitment was made in May, not in June for Starfield and Redfall.
Yeah, and you know what? That's where the other half of the problem is because Bethesda had no right to come out and say anything, because at the end of the day, they're not an independent organization anymore. They're not the one flipping the bill for the publishing. That's their boss, Xbox. And if you're going to speak for your boss, well, that's on you. That's like making commitment. Like I would never make a commitment on that level. Like I have people all the time that they're like, "Hey, can you guarantee me this?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to talk to the owner of the company because I ain't going to guarantee anything. Because holy cow,
That's making the assumption that that's how it worked, though. It was on their socials, but it doesn't mean it wasn't a Microsoft made statement.
To be fair, guys, I mean, again, I don't want this game forced out. You know, Xbox has had issues. No. Of course not. Of course not. No. I'm just I'm just coming from the playing it safe kind of a thing, because again, Xbox and their, you know, going back to like even the Xbox One days, I remember a couple of games that shipped without content, you know, definitely missing content, and you know, even like games that I thought were really cool, but like again, they're either lacking content or they had major bugs. Look at Recore, for example. I mean,
Infinite's the perfect example of that, and it just
of course.
Well, I actually, to me, and I'm glad General MLD brought it up. I was in a chat on a podcast yesterday, and of course, chatting with one of our community favorites, and they brought up the fact, they were like, Bethesda had nothing to, like, basically Todd Howard had nothing to do with Fallout 76, and it's just like, well, regretfully, he's the one that came out on stage and hyped that game. And when you put your rubber stamp of approval on something, your name's attached to it, whether or not you were behind the computer developing it or not. And Todd Howard saw what happened to the Fallout franchise, which is an amazing franchise. I had amazing expectations for Fallout 76. And I even bought that great big massive version that came with the fake bag and the helmet and the little action figures and stuff. And I've got the helmet hanging on the wall right behind me. And that it was actually a really damn shame to see that game get released in the state that it was. There was a lot of bugs. I think it was because they were really trying to mess around with doing multiplayer. But the real thing that really shot that game in the foot, because when you're messing around with new tech, you can generally get a lot of people that are really forgiving, at least in my opinion. But what really shot that game in the foot for me personally was it missed all that Fallout charm with the NPCs and the story and the interaction with the characters in that world. And none of it was there. And so it definitely felt like an empty shell of a game. And that, when we're talking about Starfield, this is a passion project for Todd Howard personally. He takes gaming very seriously. He's even done interviews where he thought that by some chance, by creating a failed game, he thought he was going to put Bethesda out of business. But luckily, you know, he was able to turn that around. And that's where he doesn't want to create that situation again, at least for himself professionally. And I really do think that Todd Howard probably was the guy that came in and was like, hey, I really need X amount of time to make sure this thing's really dialed in. But then the other half of the equation is what I've been saying all along, which is why I've never had the expectation for this game to come out in the first half of 2023, was because this is the business side of me. This is what I do for a living. It did not make economical sense to release that game when everybody wanted it to. There has to be a title to really help push Microsoft to push the Xbox console for the holiday season. There's also the rumor or the ability that Sony might launch Spider-Man 2. And the funny part is, I loved what Mr. Badbit said, and I'm going to agree with him. Are we really going to see Sony blink? Like, because I think at least with what I read, Spider-Man came out in September. The other Spider-Man on the PS4. Were they going to try to do that again? And was this a giant middle finger to Sony? Because I'm going to be upfront. Microsoft has probably fed the F up with Sony interfering with everything that Microsoft is doing. Microsoft has already put them in place by putting an injunction on them, asking for documents that Sony doesn't want to provide. And now here's the other middle finger saying, hey, guess what? You know that game you're probably going to release in September? Do you really think you can compete with Starfield? Let's see. Let's throw this head to head right now. Let's see if you're ready to compete. And are we going to see Sony blink? Are they going to move the release date for Spider-Man 2 because of what Microsoft has just pulled? And I think it's actually pretty funny. And that's where I just feel like this is a much better move for Xbox, that they're going to be able to really give Sony some good competition for the holiday season. Because why would Microsoft just want to hand Sony holiday 2023 like, oh, we released our best game of the year way in the first of the year, there's no reason to buy an Xbox for Christmas, go get your PlayStation?
Hey, this is a really balanced year now, looking at it. Like, I'm actually pretty impressed with what they have so far. I'm just more intrigued by, again, where a game like Forza fits in now that we have Starfield's release date. And who knows, there could be like another smaller game that we don't know about. Right?
Oh, they did say that. Phil Spencer did say that there will be GoldenEye style announcements in the next few months. So we'll see what that means. And for Forza, my personal prediction is July, maybe August.
I guess if you have the June showcase, then if you have the showcase in June, you could probably see July, August. But to at least cap off what I was saying, it's just really great to see that Starfield is coming out, and that I am very confident in the game, because we all remember that one developer that came out and said that a good game can be delayed, a bad game, if released, there's no turning back from that, or at least something along those lines. And that's where I just really feel that this was probably the best decision on a competition level, and also for a polishing and optimization level. And this is going to be a great year to be a fan of gaming in general. I'm not here to sit here and cap for Xbox like they're the best damn thing since sliced bread, or PlayStation. But when we see companies compete, us as the consumers will always reap the benefits of that. And for the first time in a long time, we're literally going to see both Sony and Microsoft climb into the ring and start competing for our dollars, rather than it being like almost like a political show. Like, oh, one minute the left side gets it. Nope, we're swinging back to the right.
You see, Centurion, it depends what kind of sliced bread it is, or what you put on it. Because, again, some people like peanut butter, some people like jelly. I'm a Nutella man myself, but that's just how it goes.
Nutella? Oh, my God. I was never a fan of Nutella.
How dare you?
How dare you? Yes, as the two Italians in the room say.
I don't know, man. Well, I know you guys are in Canada, and for a while there, freaking some craziness here. Weren't they trying to tax ketchup because you guys really like ketchup over there?
They tax everything. Actually, there's a beer tax going in effect in April 1st, so gotta love that. Yeah, of course there is, right? Of course. We live for taxes here, unfortunately.
I wonder where you got that from. Couldn't be your neighbors.
Possibly. You never know. You never know, right? No, actually, they probably got it from us. Timmy, I mean, I gotta ask you too, like, because I had brought up Forza, like, they've talked about spring originally. I thought it was always early for Forza. Like, where do you see Forza being slotted in? I guess Tim's muted. Let's see. I don't know. Like again, like I could go anywhere with the because again MLD you had said the summer, which it makes sense. I'm just wondering what they have for. I mean, obviously they have Starfield now, early September. I could see something in like middle of November, something like that. Honestly, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they. I mean, again, their direct isn't too far away. It's June,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I personally I think the Hellblade 2 and Avowed, as much as if I had to bet, I would say Hellblade 2 might be the closer this year, but my gut's telling me they're gonna be like Q1 and then the other one's gonna be like Q2 of 2024. Like Xbox is gonna really want to keep this one AAA game per quarter kind of philosophy going forward, and these games will definitely secure that momentum. So, but now I'm curious what else they'll announce for the holidays. I think Xbox Publishing might pull something out of their hat. Like, Xbox Publishing has been a little bit quiet, but we know that they're very active and striking a lot of deals. So maybe that's going to be the holiday thing.
It's possible. It's possible. Or maybe we see a smaller title take up the fray. You never know, because they were, I don't know, they seemed okay with Pentiment this past year, launching in November. I mean, that was all they had, but hey, they went with it, and it saw success, right? And I'm not mocking Pentiment, by the way, guys. It's a very good game. Got reviewed pretty well, too. Who knows? Maybe we see something like Project Mara, right? You never know. Or like you said, MLD, a third-party game. Maybe we'll get Stalker, or...
Was it, Project Belfry, or what was this? One of those published projects. The guys that made, oh my god, the RPG.
Banner Saga.
Yes,
Would be,
yeah, those guys. Those guys.
That would be Project Belfry. And then there's Project Shaolin from the new studio in New York, Brass Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Those are both supposed to be like soon-ish games, from what I understand.
Are they really? They're supposed to be like? Are they rumored to be like that early?
Jeff Grubb was shocked it didn't come out last year, so let's Belfry at least. So let's put it that way.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know about that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. He was shocked it wasn't at the showcase last year. So.
All right. Interesting. I mean, we could go on about this forever, guys, but like, do you guys have anything else to add to this? Like, whether it be the release date or the direct themselves, like.
I'm happy that Starfield's probably not going to be at the actual Xbox showcase, because that just means that showcase will be longer. Like, without it. Does that make sense? Like, it's going to be its own thing.
Yep.
Yeah. That was probably the silver lining for me. I was like, okay, well, you're not going to take up the
because that's what I would have been afraid personally if they filled it up. They filled it up purposefully, like 20 minutes of Starfield, and then. That actually makes me really confident that they have like a whole crap load of things to announce, and obviously stuff that we already know about. But that makes me feel.
Well, there's 11 games that they've announced and not talked about since they've announced them. Yeah. So.
And there's games into account Activision Blizzard. Like, what if it's approved before that showcase?
They're not going to be in the show. That would be. The only thing you would get is like, hey, we added all these games to Game Pass.
Oh, that in itself would be amazing. Like, here's like 30 games, 40, games.
So the thing is, those will come literally the day that they sign the deal.
Oh yeah.
Or like the week after. That's what happened with whatchamacallit, with Bethesda. They came literally the week after the deal was closed. They're not gonna wait. Those will hit the service as fast as humanly possible.
And when's Diablo 4 coming out? Because they could also announce, oh, hey, by the way, it's coming on Game Pass right now. Like, they'll do that too.
Pretty sure it's June.
Yeah, so a lot of things in the air right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there is a lot in the air, but at the same time, like, I'm just excited that we have a whole bunch of confirmed like release dates. We're getting some steady output from all these different publishers, studios. Again, like I'm just even just Xbox in general. And again, there's even some stuff that we sort of know about, but like, some stuff that might be coming soon. Like for example, what's it called? Ghostwire Tokyo. They haven't said anything about that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it dropped early April. Personally, right? Because that exclusivity should be up now, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
27th
soon.
or something.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been waiting for that game to come out. I got Deathloop on the PS5 when it came out because I really wanted to try it, but then now that it's on the Xbox, I'm just like, oh, I should have waited, and this time I'm waiting for Ghostwire.
Well, I mean, hey man, I don't blame you. You were excited for it, and then other stuff came up, right? So that's
Right,
just
and
how it
then
goes.
well, I guess it's just like that whole thing about like Game Pass is like, if you're trying to be more responsible with your money, which is what everybody's probably doing right now with the way things are, if it's like I could wait to buy that game in about a year, I could play it for and because I'm already part of the service, they're going to Game Pass it. So it's like, do I just buy it now or do I wait and play it in Game Pass? And for me, it was just the decision. I'm just going to wait to play it in Game Pass at this point.
Well, again, like if you do have a copy of it on PlayStation, just I don't know, trade it in or resell on many different marketplaces. There's all kinds of different options, right? And then you can put that towards something else.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, again, there's a lot of that is a game that I am interested in trying out too, and I did see a lot of gameplay on PlayStation for it, and yeah, it seemed like my kind of game. From what I heard, the gameplay was pretty fun, unique, and just this going through the streets of Tokyo as well, and they're all like kind of eerie and ghostly, and I definitely want to give it
My
a
friend
shot.
actually has a cosplay for it. Did it for Halloween last year. It was really cool.
Really? That's what like you
I don't
just.
think I have any pictures.
I'm assuming it
Yeah,
was
it
just
was
like
really cool.
a ghost of some sort, or.
The like guy on the cover, I think, is what it was.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Anything else to add, fellas, before we move on? Yes, no? All right, I'll take that as a sign to move on. But hey, great energy in the chat, guys. I'm seeing some awesome conversations going on. What's up, the realist, Shane G, Gogol Poe, Jesse Darby, Other Zinc, Gene, and many others. I see you all here. It is all very much appreciated. You guys rock. You are the bedrock of the show. We appreciate the fan service. And guys, if you haven't done so already, please like the show. It definitely does help us out, as well as sharing it out on social media. Let everybody know that we are live now, and say if somebody is new here, sub to the channel. We would love to have you stick around. Next up, guys, we'll move on to some other news from the past week, and we had a couple of different shows from a couple of different publishers. They highlighted both new games and some updates to some ones that we knew about, from Paradox's game showcase to Capcom's game Spotlight. Now, I thought that there was some interesting announcements at both, but I mean, I would like to hear from all the panel member first. Crusader, my very perceptive friend, I'd imagine you'd be keeping up with some of the announcements at these. Did anything catch your eye at either of them?
Yeah, number one, City Skylines is coming to Game Pass now, right? Like the second one?
That is
Like
correct.
on launch?
Day one,
I think
yes.
they announced that. That's big. People, that's a big, because they're trying to grow the PC market. Because they said that's like where their largest sector of growth is. That's a big game to get for PC Game Pass. Let me tell you. And like it'll be good. I'm pretty sure it's coming to console. I believe the same day. Correct? Like it's a simultaneous launch.
I believe so, if I read it correctly.
I don't quite remember with that one, but like that's really big for PC Game Pass, and that's a really cool series. Like if you like any of the Tycoon or City Builder or any of those types of games, that like City Skylines is really good, and so to see the second one's coming is really cool. And the other thing that really caught my eye was at the Capcom showcase was the Exoprimal's the Capcom one, right? Because there's also the Exo Mecha game.
Oh, right, yeah, because I was kind of mixing it up too, and I was like, oh yeah, this is something new.
Yeah, Exoprimal is a game that I was like, well, this looks really neat. I'm never gonna buy it, but it looks really neat. I'll play it. I will absolutely play it because it's kind of like that. Because it's like a 4-player kind of like looter game, right? From the looks of it.
You know what? It reminded me of Anthem with dinosaurs, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like Anthem or Outriders or even like a kind of like a Destiny, but like not Destiny. I don't like comparing games to Destiny because everyone's like, oh, you're comparing, and it's like, no, stop. I'm just comparing because it's like the similar kind of like gameplay loop. But Destiny community's toxic. But yeah, that was a game that I'm like, yeah, I wish this would launch into a service. I didn't think Capcom would, but it's really cool that like it looks like there's a slightly larger deal at play with Capcom because we had the Monster Hunter come and now we have this. So I wouldn't be shocked to hear like I wouldn't be like, oh, Street Fighter is gonna come or something like that, right? But like I wouldn't be shocked to hear that like Capcom has a couple other like small games coming or like medium-sized games because like or experimental games because you could call Exoprimal a like semi-experimental game. So that was really cool from that Capcom showcase to actually see something like Xbox related at it. It's not something I would necessarily expect. And I didn't get to play it, but I heard really good things about the Resident Evil 4 demo.
Oh,
and
man.
I've never played a Resident Evil game, so I'm not the person you should ask about anything related to Resident Evil. That they're on my backlog. I have them all. I got them all for like $30. But I heard from people who do really like Resident Evil that the demo was really good and that like what they showed in the showcase was really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Shockley was talking about it earlier, but
Yeah.
he'll definitely give us an update again on that. There was actually another game that kind of caught my attention.
Was it that small, the smaller like turn-based like game?
the Paradox one,
Lamplighters?
the Lamplighter League.
Yeah, Lamplighters. That's what it was.
Because
I'm excited for that.
because
that looked neat.
it is a day one Game Pass, and it is also, as far as I'm concerned, it only had an Xbox release, so it's Xbox exclusive right now.
What game does that remind you of, Invader?
Are you talking about XCOM?
Wasteland 3 for me.
No, Strange Brigade.
Yeah, you think so? Oh yeah, because of the in concept.
Not gameplay, in concept.
I know what you're talking about because okay, guys. So if you haven't seen it already, the Lamplighters League is this new IP that was announced by Paradox at the Paradox and Xbox show, and it's a turn-based strategy game from Harebrained Schemes. They did the Shadowrun trilogy. If you're not familiar with them, anyways, this game is a pulp-style adventure game set in like an alternative 1933. So again, it has that kind of like Strange Brigade feel to it, which again I agree with Centurion on the likeness to it. But yeah, this game was announced as day one Game Pass, and yeah, it seems to be Xbox exclusive for the time being. They didn't really say much other than that. But that's pretty cool in my opinion, and I think now I know why they Xbox was helping to present this because there was a whole bunch of Game Pass and maybe one or two exclusives.
Yeah, they've been working pretty close with Paradox, but it also doesn't shock me that like Harebrained Schemes would be working like individually would be working like close with Xbox, because I believe Microsoft at least in part owns the Shadowrun. They own like a portion of the Shadowrun IP or something weird.
It's
That
complicated.
IP is like all kinds of screwed up in like IP like who has the rights to what.
Well, it's the same.
And
yeah.
like that's why like it's on Game Pass, but like it's everywhere. It's kind of like the Ghostbusters games where like even though Sony owns that IP, there's like all kinds of weird things with like distribution and stuff for it. So the game just like the newer Ghostbuster games have just ended up everywhere. And like, I'm not shocked though to hear that the company that made that was the remasters of the Shadowrun stuff, right? That they handled, or did they make the originals?
They may. You know what? I'm really not sure. I'd be lying if I knew correctly, but they definitely did handle the newer update, anyways.
Either way, they have to have like worked in part at least with Microsoft on those. So, because of the IP handling, so it doesn't shock me that like they have a relationship where like stuff would be coming to Game Pass, like specifically from Harebrained Schemes. Doesn't shock me at all.
Well, I mean,
especially considering they're not a super large, like well-known studio. That like they're not indie, but they're also not like, you know what I mean?
Well, they have
like,
some interesting
they're kind
IP.
of like the focus. Yeah, they're like the focused home teams, like with like Plague Tale and stuff like that. They just kind of have the Game Pass really suits their style of games as like external companies to Microsoft.
Well, specifically on the PC side of things, I would say too.
Yeah. Yep.
You look at what they have too, like again, all these different strategy games like Stellaris. There's more I could list off, but
Crusader Kings, and a lot of them are in Game Pass now too, aren't they? Like Crusader Kings 3 is. I don't know about Europa Universalis.
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure. It's definitely not on console, but it could be on.
Yeah.
Or maybe at one point it was on Game Pass. I think it was. Now that I think about it.
Crusader Kings 3 definitely is.
Yes, it is. And that's a very. They're really, these strategy games are all popular in their own right, but again, they're working pretty closely. I was kind of surprised that Xbox did a hosted presentation with them. Or
I thought they hosted last year's for them too. Or
Maybe.
That might have been Warhammer.
I can't remember, actually, to be honest. That being said, though, I would say they're pretty chummy right now. I don't know. I just get that vibe. I get that vibe, and I've been saying it for a while. Like, let's say this deal with Activision, let's say it goes through, or if it doesn't go through. Personally, I think they're next in line for like a buy-up. They're not that big, but at the same time, like, they're big in the PC space. I could totally see them like being of interest to Microsoft because they have a lot of really interesting IP that's strong in the PC sphere. But that's just me. Moving on down the list here. Shockley, buddy, what did you think of these announcements at either Capcom or Paradox? You were probably more keeping an eye on Capcom things, I'd imagine. I know you were talking about Resident Evil, the demo, but, what did you think of everything?
Yeah, pretty much the only one I was really interested in was Resident Evil for the most part. It was cool to see the Exoprimal. I'm not sure if I'll play it, but you are seeing the cool thing with Game Pass, and they might continue to get some of these not exclusives, but some of these like day one deals, because a game like this, maybe Capcom, who knows when they start development, but it kind of probably entices them to take risk on something like this, because they know they can make a Game Pass deal and put it on, kind of like with Outriders, where hey, you get so many people playing it all at once, and it gets a huge, because what Outriders have been without Game Pass, because before they made that announcement, there wasn't much chatter going on. There were some people comparing it to Gears, and then that was about it. They were saying, yeah, it's kind of like Gears, but it's a lot, at least from what I heard, a lot of people were just kind of like downplaying the demo. Once that got announced, it kind of blew up all over Twitter. And then everybody was playing it. I had no interest, never even saw or heard anything about it, and I played the shit out of it. So I think that's one cool thing with Game Pass is it might entice more devs to like, oh, okay, let's try this. Cool, we're going to throw Game Pass a bone because it's going to help blow it up everywhere else. So it has a real good shot of, catching an audience. So that's definitely pretty cool. I wasn't the stream, definitely not too enticed with that one. So it looked okay, just not I haven't never really played like any XCOM or any of those type of games, but it's City Skylines probably won't touch. That's cool. I know it's a big game or big get for Game Pass because a lot of people play that. I always hear the name, so I know it's I know it definitely has its huge fans or huge fan base. As far as anything else from Capcom, it was kind of sad that they didn't put Mega Man in there because like they're getting Exoprimal and getting cool deals with Capcom. But Mega Man, it's like they wouldn't have really took you any money to port that. Like it makes no sense.
Right.
Like even Konami was like, hey, we can port, Castlevania trilogy from the GBA over. Like that part just makes no sense, especially since they already have the other Mega Man games on Game Pass or on Xbox. It just seems weird of like, hey, we're gonna give you this cool Game Pass deal, and then not that. Kind of same thing with the whole Xbox One being cut out. Like that's still a good chunk of, if you think of like Resident Evil's popularity, like in the U.S., that's a still pretty good slice of people. Because when you look at console sales with the Xbox One and PS4, they were not that far off from each other, like in North America. So that just kind of struck me as odd. Of like, was it that much lower? Because from what we've seen in the past, yeah, sure, the game's played more at 1080p than on PS4 and more 720p. Could they not just lower the resolution? Whether they had to drop it maybe under 720p, sometimes Xbox games did that. So it just seems weird that one didn't hit, but Resident Evil Village did. So that was kind of odd for there to be a Xbox One, or not an Xbox One X version for the remake, but but there's a base PS4, which I get they have to do the whole parity, so if they can't do it for one, that's where I think Xbox maybe should have, like, if it really wasn't possible on like the launch system, that they should have like then let that go, because there were still a lot of people, because they kind of sold people on the Xbox One X of like, hey, it's not a brand new system, but it's paying back what we should have done right somewhat from the get-go, from when it in 2013. So for all the people that have an Xbox One X but see people with a launch PS4 playing Resident Evil 4 remake, that just doesn't kind of sit well. So
I do wonder what percentage of Xbox Ones are actually still being used, because like we have 20 million Series X's now, like in the wild, approximately, right?
Yeah.
And so like the PS5, even though there's like 30 million PS5s, there's still like 70 million PS4s, right? Like if every one of those was a new customer. So I do wonder, like, okay, like if you combine the potential like tech issues that could go in with the toaster Xbox One, combined with like just the fact that a lot larger percentage of Xbox fans may have upgraded to the new system, if it's actually genuinely worth it.
Yeah, because at least even when it first launched, it didn't seem like there was like so much tech issues. It was just like, hey, it's not hitting 1080p as much as, because even PS4 was struggling to hit 1080p on like Battlefield 4. It was hitting like 900 something. So they were both struggling, but I don't know. But as far as this, definitely check out that demo. Even if you're not into those games, or you're stressed with those type of games, the combat and the parry system, I parried the first two attacks at me perfectly first try. I was like, oh, I thought it was coming off of Wolong. I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna miss these and get stabbed with a pitchfork. And I was like perfectly parrying. I'm like, oh, this combat's awesome. This is basically John Wick the game. So I think they turned up the intensity as far as like the enemies coming at you, so, since you're able to move a lot more. This is more like Resident Evil like 6 type like movement, or the amount of mobility. So, but yeah, definitely give that one a go. And apparently, if you drop all the weapons right before you enter the village, you can go find a submachine gun. So definitely check that out.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I saw someone post that you have to clean out your inventory right before you. I'm not sure at which point in their village, but a bunch of people have videos up on that, and then you can take out that TMP that you usually get a little bit later in the game, and just go to town. So, but yeah, this game's gonna be a blast. It looks phenomenal. I had all the bells and whistles turned on. That's probably how I'm gonna play it: resolution mode, ray tracing, and then the hair strands on Leon's head. But especially when you see it in close up, it looks phenomenal. And I saw the Series S running it side by side. I think it was the video you linked me, Invader. It looks like it's holding its own for the most part. Like, for the most part, it was keeping up somewhat frames that the Series X was, and resolution, I think it's holding at like 1440p and not like 1080. So that's, and visually you could still see the textures on the face. It wasn't like completely softened. So when people say it shouldn't exist or is a mistake, I think that's just crazy talk, especially since it's on the base PS4. So obviously it wasn't. If anything you're gonna say is a mistake, it'd be still releasing on the base PS4. So, so obviously it's not the case. But yeah, definitely check it out. I'm super hyped. I'm gonna play the shit out of that second it drops. Probably gonna play through that straight and then get back to Wo Long. So, but yeah, definitely check that demo out and see how you like it.
Well, thanks for your input there, Eric. Appreciate it. Yeah, very insightful. Moving on down here, General MLD pal. I mean, I would say there are some interesting announcements here for Xbox. I mean, you know, maybe not some of the biggest, but, you know, I gotta hand it to them. They're doing a good job with Game Pass, huh?
Oh, definitely they are. I like that they're doing a lot of games that have maybe smaller niche fan bases in themselves, but they cover so many bases, like genre-wise. It all adds up. Like if you put out enough games that with enough variety, it'll appeal to just about everybody, which is the point of having a successful subscription service. You need different genres, and going into that, like I think the game like Lamplighters, that's like a great example. Like the turn-based tactical kind of game. Yeah, that may not be as popular as your Call of Duty or your third-person single-player games, but it has a niche but very passionate crowd. And you put that on Game Pass day one, it's Xbox ecosystem exclusive. Fantastic. You're gonna draw that small yet loyal and passionate group to you, and you'll build up the brand with that. So Xbox knows what they're doing here. Paradox, they make great games. I remember when they've had deals with Xbox for years now. I remember playing Stellaris on Game Pass. I put like at least a few days worth on that game alone. That game just sucked me in. Like their games are just really good like that. They're not like the biggest budget, but they are really deep in their mechanics, and they really excel at that. And even City Skylines too. Like it's a multiplat, sure, but again, it's a great day one Game Pass get. Like 2023 is full of these games now. It's filling up, and we're only in March right now. And then you got Exoprimal. It's nice that Capcom is still like a good. They're pretty good in that. They like to play all sides of the field. Like they're no stranger to Game Pass deals. I mean, we just got Monster Hunter on the service. I still have to get to that. But then you got Exoprimal here, and I think this game kind of reminds me of, say, Outriders, where it's a bit of a new idea, new IP, and may not catch on necessarily on its own. So you need that Game Pass bump to get that extra exposure and word of mouth, because it is a co-op kind of game. So it plays right into Game Pass's strengths. So you'll get more people online to try it out, co-oping together, having a good time. I hope it's a good game. I think I'll give it a try myself. So I'm good on Capcom for trying these new ideas, and relying on Game Pass to get that that guaranteed paycheck, but in that player boost. So hopefully it lasts. Overall, though, yeah, I mean it's a really good sign. I feel like this is only the beginning, and they got a lot more. I feel like we're gonna get a lot more Game Pass announcements throughout the year to really, because it's the whole package. Like if you ideally want first party spaced out, which we're getting. A good mix of time exclusives, which we also have, and then you got these multi-plat day one Game Pass gets to. It's just a cherry on top. I feel like Xbox is finally hitting their stride, and I myself am looking forward to playing Lamplighters, because I love me some turn-based tactical games. I'm glad Xbox actually gets games of these genres that Nintendo and Sony, they frankly just couldn't care less by comparison. So good on Xbox, and I'm looking forward to it.
You don't happen to own Strange Brigade, do you?
I'm not familiar with it, because I'm only familiar with XCOM or Wasteland 3.
Well,
Would those be similar?
Well, it's not a strategy game. It's more of like a co-op, third-person shooter kind of a thing, or is it first person? No, it's not.
It was done by the developer that did Zombie Army.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Rebellion.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more of like a co-op kind of co-op shooter kind of a game. So it has that aesthetic that Lamplighter does. It's very pulpy 1930s, that kind of a thing. So
All right.
yeah. So all right.
MLD.
Yeah.
You like the turn-based games like a lot, right?
Yes, I do.
Have you played the Divinity games?
No, actually, I have not.
You need to. Absolutely need to.
Which one? Which one?
Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of the best RPGs ever made.
Okay. Would I have to play the original to get what's going on?
No.
I will be honest; those are in my backlog. I need to play them.
They are very long. It is very long games.
Maybe make that a summer title.
Oh wow, you're
Yeah.
right. Like I'm seeing on Metacritic, the PC version's like a 93.
Yes, these are the people that are making Baldur's Gate, by the way. That's why Baldur's Gate's so highly anticipated, is because the Divinity games are incredible. Larian is an incredible studio.
Oh, you're right. The Xbox One version, like Definitive Edition, 92 Metacritic. Oh wow,
Yeah.
how did I miss this? So you're saying it's a
Yeah.
strategy
It is a turn-based almost D&D style game. That's why like they got picked to make Baldur's Gate, the D&D game. They are very, very good. Almost recommend telling you to play it on PC over Xbox, just because like the additional classes and stuff you can get from the mods are really cool. But like the Xbox version is perfectly fine.
Okay, that's going on the backlog. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting perspectives there, MLD. Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm curious about, just going back to Exoprimal though. It's, again, when I first saw this game, I really wasn't sure what to think of it. With more trailers coming out, especially the one released this past week, I do get a better sense of it, especially story-wise. It's just, I don't know. I don't know know if it's just not clicking with me or what, but since it's day one in Game Pass, I mean, I see no reason why not to check it out. I mean, I'll probably play it with you guys. It's just, I don't know, just one of those titles that didn't really grab me. What about you, Centurion? What did you think about all the games here, whether it be Exoprimal? Like, what do you think about these shows from Paradox and Capcom? And did anything catch your eye?
A few things did. We already talked on the whole Lamplighters thing. I got my first real dose of like addictive exposure to turn-based strategy just recently with Marvel Midnight Suns, sorry. And that's where, as soon as I saw that this game, I enjoyed Midnight Suns. I enjoyed playing Strange Brigade, and I'm just like, ooh, I really think I'm gonna have some fun playing this game. This is gonna be a good title for me. Is it everybody's cup of tea? No, but for me it is. But that's where these announcements, this has been a good week for Xbox announcements, at least in my opinion. We obviously got the announcement of Starfield finally coming to the finish line. And then we also got this stuff. And I mean, there's literally a little bit of something for everybody in these announcements that have been made. Exoprimal, this was not on my radar. I had somebody hit me up on Twitter and remind me about it, and then called me out because I completely forgot that it was shown at the summer showcase last year. And I just completely forgot about it. But I mean, who doesn't like fighting dinosaurs? Hopefully, this one turns out to be a little bit more of an addictive mechanic than Age of Extinction. I was excited for Age of Extinction when it came out, but it obviously, I mean, it has its crowd, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about it.
Wait,
so
you mean Second Extinction? That was
Second Extinction.
Yeah.
Yep, Second Extinction, Age of Extinction, Second Extinction. We all know how I am with names. I just randomly say shit. That's where, Second Extinction, that was a game that I thought was going to be really over the top, and then it just kind of like puttered out on hype. It captured the crowd that it did, but nobody I associate with plays that game very heavily. I know it's still out there. I see it pop up on Xbox sales, but I don't see anybody ever talking about it. So hopefully Capcom really knocks it out the park with this whole concept that they're trying, because I mean, like everybody said, Capcom's doing a little bit of everything, on both consoles, and they're also dabbling in different games. It's good to see that they're branching out and trying different stuff. City Skylines. I've always had an interest in that game, but I don't know if I really have the time for it because of just how in-depth. I guess they wanted to make it the most accurate city builder out there, where, you got to like even manage the flow of traffic. Otherwise, you could create congested streets like we all see in real life, and we don't like traffic jams. That's where, at least by it coming to Game Pass, maybe I might be able to finally check it out and see if it's something that I can find the time for, because for some reason, I like little games like that where they're like little world builders. But I mean, there's definitely something for everybody that's about to come out. It's good to see that Microsoft is constantly on the lookout for titles and deals that they can use to get Game Pass to stay relevant. And I mean, it's always been a good time to be a gamer, but it seems to be getting better and better with what Microsoft has done with Game Pass, and we're starting to see more developers take advantage of being able to put little titles like this in Game Pass and find some pretty good success in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing I will say, though, is that you look at the release date for Exoprimal, and it's slated for a summer release of...
It was like July
14th, I believe, something like that. The beta is going to be in a few days, actually, now that I think about it. And I look at this and I look at Game Pass, and I just think that it is a match made in heaven. That game does, it's avoiding a lot of big releases, but at the same time, it's getting put into Game Pass, and I think it'll do better than what it initially would have, because I just didn't see the hype for it. I didn't see a lot of people talking about it. Now I think it might have a bit of a chance. So it's
it wasn't even on my radar until somebody was like, "Hey, have you seen the trailer for Exoprimal? What's that?"
Mm-hmm. Well, even for myself, I think it was Crusader that brought it up, or maybe it was you. I was kind of like even confusing it too with that Exo Machina game too, as well.
Exo Mecha.
Exo Mecha.
Which was supposed to come out like 2 years ago. Have we even seen that since they showed that like a long time ago?
It had a big delay. That's all I remember. It was supposed to come out. I think it was supposed to have a date last year, and it just completely went off the radar.
It was supposed to be out in 2021.
Yeah, there you go. It had a big delay. They've been on radio silence. I haven't seen anything from them. So, because that's a free to play too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Ooh, it is.
Yeah.
There's another one that's sorry, I was just looking at the screen. Didn't mean to jump back in, but that's another one, Surviving the Aftermath. I bought that game when it was on Game Preview, and I still have yet to really get deep into it, but I'm excited to see that they're still keeping that game relevant, and then I'm going to have like an asinine amount of content to tackle in this game, Surviving the Aftermath. Have you checked that one out?
I know it. I just haven't played it. Is that like a survival game?
It's like a world builder, but done in end of world. Like basically, the world is ended, and now you have to like think of like City Skylines, but instead of making this big immaculate city, you're just trying to help people survive and rebuild civilization in a after the apocalypse type situation.
For some reason, I'm thinking Fallout settlement system from Fallout 4.
And that's what it reminded me of. And that's why I was like, you know what? I really got to check this out. And then obviously I ADD'd it, but I bought it while it was in game preview. Then it got the full I got the full game release. And I even got the early adopters package because they're like, hey, thanks for playing the game. And I'm like, I haven't even played it yet. But yeah, definitely. It's good to see that there's even a little bit of an expansion for it. And I mean, it's a really interesting looking game. Definitely has that Fallout-esque style to it, which really drew me to it.
But that's what I mean though, because Xbox again, they seem to have a very good relationship, working relationship with this one publisher, Paradox. A whole bunch of these games have been featured in Game Pass at one time or another. I think is Surviving the Aftermath in Game Pass right now, or I'm pretty sure it was at some point.
It may have been at some point. I know it was part of the game preview program, but on Game Pass, I could not accurately answer that question.
I know. Actually, it's funny. I remember a friend of mine at work not too long ago. He's talking about City Skylines, and it was just like, it was in Game Pass. I don't normally go towards these games, but I got addicted and I bought all the DLC, and then it went out of Game Pass, so then I had to buy it because he was addicted. And plus he had all the DLC. But that's what I mean though. Game Pass is like really does introduce people to other genres, right? So I just find it interesting the relationship that they have, and I would not be surprised if there was more being built here that meets the eye. But guys, any other comments about Paradox and the Capcom spotlights and shows? Yes, no. All right, I'll take that as a no. Okay, everyone. I think that will be the end of things for tonight. Honestly, lots of good things to talk about this evening, from loads of Starfield news. We got a date, and just, we got both updates and new game news from Paradox and Capcom, which, hey, it was awesome. Glad to see some stuff get brought to light, some new stuff, and again, some of the stuff that we already knew. I loved everyone's thoughts tonight on the show, and I really hope that you all did too. And if you did enjoy it, to all of our wonderful listeners, then please, hey, consider leaving a like, sharing this episode out, and sub to the channel. Again, I really appreciate all the new faces, and of course all the old as well, don't get me wrong, but we love seeing all the new faces here. And if you really want to keep up to date with everything TXR, if you like the chat, sub to the channel. We would love to have you. But yeah, on that note, we will move over to the outros. Timmy had to leave early, and of course he mentioned earlier that he'll be taking a little pause from the show because of busy things going on in life. But he will still be a part of the show, guys, and he will be making different stops and whatnot. He will be coming on the show just at more different points. That's all it is. But yeah, to start off signing out the show, let's start with Crusader. Pal, hey, I loved your insights tonight. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the gaming platforms and social media at Crusader3456, specifically Twitter, I guess, is where probably be the best place to follow me, at least for now. Although, who knows if you'll actually see what I'm tweeting, the current state of affairs there. But yeah, great show tonight. I don't want anyone to think I'm mad at Centurion or anything. I'm not. I have the chronic need to make sure that what I'm saying is crystal clear, and I raised my voice, and I should not have.
I have the habit of making people raise their voice. Ask my wife. I'm sorry if I made that.
Don't worry about it, brother.
Through.
I wasn't actually mad at you. I have the chronic need to make sure that I'm not being misconstrued.
No. Honestly, not to speak for Centurion. No, I don't personally think that. But go ahead, Centurion.
I was just gonna say, me and you were chatting about it, how I was getting, I was so aggravated, when you flipped open YouTube and you're delay, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, they're treating this like the freaking literally hey, it's not coming out till next year. It was just a few months, and I was just like, oh my god, dude, I think we're really going on the delay bandwagon just because we know it's going to get people to focus on your content.
Well, yeah, it's gonna hit the what's the term? It'll hit the search engines real well if they do that.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Starfield delay.
So,
oh bam,
yeah.
SEO, freaking heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but well said, guys. Well said, Crusader. Moving on down the list here, Eric Shockley, buddy. Hey, I thought you made some excellent commentary. Loved, again, the talk from Capcom. Definitely want to see more of Resident Evil, the remake, and so on. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live.
But yeah, I did find something cool in Wolong. Saw somebody's video where I guess I know you could play with other people, but I didn't know they could invade you, and then you guys start battling and pairing, and you know, pulling off these crazy sick moves that you would think were scripted. You know, fighting an NPC, but no, they're like pulling off the same looking blocks that you're doing on regular enemies on each other, and it looked sick as hell when I saw that. So yeah, be careful. I don't know how that initiates, but it looks like it was spontaneous on the one I saw where they were just like roaming around the world, and then someone just came running at them. But yeah, good show tonight. See you later.
Well, you had me at invade. No, but that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's no, I gotta check that game out again. Maybe I didn't give it the time of day, but I'll have to take a look at once I'm done with Atomic Heart. Moving on down, General MLD, buddy, pal. I thought you had some really great insights yourself. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, you guys can find me at MLD Ghost on Twitter, gamertag Ghost MLD, and yeah, this is just a very fun chat, very very exciting stuff, and yeah, let's see what next week brings.
I agree. I mean, who knows? I think we'll get some interesting news down the line, and I don't know. I mean, we should probably talk about Halo at some point too. Maybe we'll sneak that in as well. There's been some pretty big updates. Yeah, we'll see what the next week holds. Moving on down. Oh, we got Centurion, pal. I thought your banter was pretty on point tonight as well. And where can all these wonderful, wonderful people in the chat follow you?
It was a really great show, gentlemen. Thank you for putting up with me and like how loud and boisterous I can get when I'm passionate about something. Thank you to everybody out in the chat that joined us tonight. It's awesome to always see the same faces and new faces show up every night. For those interested in finding me and my content, and yes, I am making content again, you can find me on YouTube at Centurion1307. You can also find me on Twitter and Xbox Live. And you can also find me on Gaming Beyond the Box, which normally takes place 2 hours before the beginning of this show. And you could also find me right here on the TXR Podcast. Too many T's.
Bit of a tongue twister. All right.
Right?
But no, that's good. That's good, pal. And yeah, just to round out the crew, of course, I'm Invader. You guys can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. I've been doing guides for Atomic Heart, so hey, feel free to check them out. I got more coming along the way. But yeah, guys, excellent stuff tonight. And to everyone here, we look forward to seeing you here on the next one, next Sunday. Hopefully, again, we get some more news popping up and more game announcements. That's always good. But hey, we can't wait to chat with you. See you later, everyone. Later.